realised it was a success when I couldn't go and buy any vegetables without them saying something about why aren't you growing them.
The situation just grew and grew and grew, and John and Bob grew, I think, helped the thing grow with us, and whatever we brought, they really built on.
From square one, it started as it meant to carry on. It wasn't something we had to arrive at. For some reason, we all seemed to just click.
Go on, good girl, good girl. 5.
Oh, isn't it wonderful, isn't it marvellous, Jerry?
Yes, I've always wanted to stand in a pigsty in the middle of the night.
Will you hold that light steady?
Just trying to see what I'm standing in.
Good girl, good girl. That's a good girl. 6.
6 so far, Margot.
Congratulations. Don't you ever tell me to shut up again, Jerry.
Well, I haven't got X-ray eyes, have I? I can't see through a door.
Hold the light still.
And I will thank you not to go out in the middle of the night and leave the front door open. Anything could have happened.
Yes, you could have got up and shut it.
And in a grim decade, the show gave off a lot of warmth. The feel-good factor was there in the situation, the comedy, and most of all in the relationships. These characters loved each other.
No, get off. Get off. Now, what are you doing? Now, mind the clothes off. Put that. No, out. Oh.
Good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Tom. It's me, Margot.
Good morning, Margot. Yes, you're perfectly correct, it is you.
Tom and Barbara were very lovey-dovey. And for the life of me, I don't understand why, because Tom was a ghastly character.
Yes, I mean, I don't need to keep on telling you I love you, do I? You just know it.
Do you?
Do I what?
Love me?
Well, of course I do, you silly bitch. What I'm trying to say is...
He was such a egotistical, obsessive big head. She had to put up with all that. No clothes, no baby, no money. And that's how it is in sitcom land, I think. These wonderful women and these idiot men.
Good old Margot. She just doesn't understand, does she, love? She can't see that sometimes you are capable of being totally unfeminine.
Thanks.
No. Well, I didn't mean unfeminine. I mean, you're very feminine, Barbara. Oh, you're ever so sexy, honestly, you are. You are. There you are, you see, you can do it.
We were writing about a happy marriage between Tom and Barbara, so we thought as long as it's happy, it should be sexy as well.
Come on, then. Take me.
So Barbara seemed to initiate most of it by sort of slipping upstairs at a moment's notice and asking if he was tired and all the rest of it.
Bed's free.
Barbara?
Yes?
You will be gentle with me, won't you?
It was much the same with Margot and Jerry. So you had two couples who patently loved each other. Of course, in this day and age, it would be almost impossible to do a series where people actually showed affection to each other over a long period of time, because nobody would believe it.
We know 100 places and 500 people. Can't think of a thing to do.
Well, not everything we enjoy is in the address book, Jerry.
Oh, I see. What a good idea.
It was a really good ensemble piece, and the four main characters were just, they worked so well together. The dynamics that went on there, the sexual tension between Jerry and Barbara and Tom and Margot was there as well. There was this there were episodes when there was almost an acknowledgement of the fact that they quite fancied each other,
You are not starchy, Margot. You're a very attractive woman.
What started as an eco-friendly vehicle for Richard Briers had turned into a gas-guzzling four-wheel drive. All the cast were now stars in their own right, especially Margot.
Of the four characters, Penny's character, Margot, was the one that was instantly funny.
Jerry Ledbetter here. Now, I was just telephoning to find out whether I could have my car today. Oh, Tuesday.
But what do you mean Tuesday? Be quiet. I don't care if the spare parts come from Mars. Go and collect them.
Because she played it so beautifully and because she was so noticeably funny, I think it's as though almost this legend has grown up that her part grew. It didn't, or never consciously.
In 1977, after 4 series and a Royal Command performance with the Queen in the studio audience, the Good Life team decided to quit while they were on top.
We never wanted what we had as a successful show to become boring or go down, and we thought, no, it can't actually necessarily go on beyond this. So we definitely decided to stop.
In parallel to The Good Life, Esmonde and Larbey had drawn on their national service experience to create Get Some In, set on an RAF base.
You remember your wife consulted me recently about her chest condition?
Yes, the hacking cough, sir.
Yeah, well, you'll be pleased to know that I took some x-rays and there are absolutely no complications.
Oh, you'll be dead chuffed to hear that, sir. I'll tell her.
Fine. Oh, incidentally, while I'm here, I thought I'd take a look at your cellar.
Why would you want to look down there, sir?
Well, don't you remember, when your wife was consulting me, she kept alluding to you having some trouble downstairs.
John Howard Davies put Torquay on the map by producing 40 Towers, after which the BBC put him behind a desk and made him head of comedy.
And I was able then to commission a show for Richard Briers, which was called The Other One, with Michael Gambon, written by Esmonde and Larbey. It was quite one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Same again.
But are you sure we've got time?
They're not even boarding yet.
British Airways Flight 147 to Malaga, now boarding at gate 22.
Well, they're boarding.
So?
Well, don't you even go when they start boarding?
No.
But when do you go?
When do I go? I'll tell you when I go. I go when they stop scrumming down to get through passport control, when they stop jostling to get through gate 22, and when they stop racing along those ramps to get onto the plane. I don't scrum, I don't jostle, I don't race. I stroll.
Stroll?
Stroll.
Absolutely disastrous as far as the public was concerned, but we adored it. Wonderful black humour.
Bob Larbey wrote a fine romance on his own, but in 1985 he was writing again with John Esmonde. Ever-decreasing Circles starred Richard Briers as Martin Bryce, another ghastly man married to the long-suffering Penelope Wilton.
You're a wonderful woman, Anne.
Oh, shucks.
Do you know what I'm going to do now?
No, Martin.
I'm going to make us both a nice cup of cocoa.
After The Good Life, audiences were clamouring for more Margot. Cannily, Penelope Keith called in her sitcom Svengali.
After the series, Penelope Keith had become quite a star. She represented a kind of television Thatcher. So it was important to find something that wasn't the same, but could capitalise on that kind of character.
I was sent a lot of scripts. A lot of them were pale imitations of Margot. So consequently, when I was sent this radio programme to do called To the Manor Born, I felt confident enough to say to the author, may I send this to John Howard Davies, who was head of comedy by this time at the BBC.
I listened to it and stole it from Radio 4.
I seem to know the name. I'm sorry, I can't quite recall where...
We met on the day of your husband's funeral.
Oh, yes. I'm glad to see you're properly dressed this time.
Dressed for what?
Well, aren't you doing the catering?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am. I made a point of it. I hope everything's satisfactory.
If I'd have played Jerry, there's no way I could have played Into the Manor Born, because Jerry was Penny's husband. Into the Manor Born, I'm this man of mystery who she's never met before. So there's no way I could have played this so-called romantic lead, which changed my life from being a character actor to being a leading man. So there.
As for Jerry, Paul Eddington might only have been second choice for The Good Life, but he was John Howard Davies' first choice as Jim Hacker. So there.
After a few weeks of bullying, I made him do the pilot, and then he liked it. And it went on to be his personal show for the next 5 or 6 years.
What is it that I don't know?
What precisely do you mean, Minister?
I don't know. That's just it. I don't know. And I don't know because I can't find what questions to ask you. And I don't know what to ask you because I don't know. What is it that I don't know?
Minister, I don't know what you don't know.
Much to Paul Eddington's embarrassment, Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister became the favourite shows of Margaret Thatcher, who knew a good comedy when it was explained to her. Before his untimely death in 1995, Paul Eddington appeared as Felicity Kendal's husband in The Chamomile Lawn, finally swapping wives with Tom Good.
They're lucky he's come back. The Turnbull son has been killed.
At least he was fighting on the right side.
You mean right or right? As against left.
If you're going to start up again with that attitude, I refuse to discuss this scuffle in Spain.
John Howard Davies paired Felicity Kendal with writer Carla Lane for The Mistress and Solo. Audiences seem to like their Barbara to be naughty, but not that naughty.
I loved Solo, but I thought The Mistress was also a lovely idea. It was very unusual. It was slightly risky.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't mind. I don't mind anything. You can go back to your wife now. I've finished with you.
So, Felicity finished with sitcom and went back to the theatre. In the real world, Penelope has become High Sheriff of Surrey, a job Margot would have killed her neighbour's chickens for. And her sitcom career has included the BAFTA-winning Executive Stress opposite Peter Bowles in another John Howard Davies production. John Esmonde and Bob Larbey had yet another hit series with Brushstrokes and called it a day after Mulberry. Esmonde moved to Spain and Larbey returned to suburbia, writing as time goes by on his own. But carefully nurtured and given time to grow, it's the good life that Esmonde and Larbey are best known for.
We knew what success was, but somehow the good life has been our biggest success, I suppose, and it's very dear to us.
All great comedy is about situation, be it Wilde, Shaw, Shakespeare, Esmond and Larbey, whoever.
No! No! I'm not watching the bloody good life! Bloody! I hate it! It's so bloody nice!
The young ones did a fantastic kind of tirade against it. And at the time, you know, it was all very funny because it was a reaction against an older kind of comedy. But in a way, now you look back at it as a rather sort of arrogant, misguided misconception of what was actually a very good show.
Oh, la-di-da! Look what I found in my laundry bag. All of Felicity Kendal's underwear. That needs a good wash.
And when you look at that now, it's interesting to see that the young ones has actually dated probably more than The Good Life has.
But it was all very soppy. We loved each other dearly, and it showed, I think. It came through in some curious way onto the screen.
To me!
Please tell me why it's funny. Please.
What are you talking